Hello and welcome to this brand new episode of Motorsport Idag Podcast. Today we are actually hosted by a very nice guy with the name David Reynolds. Welcome to our podcast.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so how are you feeling? Everything is all right?
Yeah, not so bad. I just got back from one of our V8 Supercar rounds at Queensland Raceway, and just didn't have the best weekend. So just trying to get over the depression, I suppose.
Yeah, actually, I
hate to depressed if you don't get good results, and then it's just highs and lows in motorsport, I think.
Yeah, I actually saw the race, and it looked like you struggled for, I don't know, overall performance, I guess.
The problem is we're a brand new team, and we've got no real data of that place, or we've got no real understanding of that place. So and the track degraded in its surface quite a lot in the last year. So we're scratching our heads even in practice, and then we had something go wrong. One of the roll bar hydraulic systems failed, and then we spent half an hour in the pit, so we missed half the practice session, and we're kind of on the back foot since then, and we just didn't get the setup right. It's just a hard place. It's really different from where other places we go to.
All right. Well, hopefully you're just gonna get this first sort of brand new year over with, and just pick up some new energy for next year. So, but it's been looking good for you. I actually watched the Townsville race as well, and that looked pretty good for you, right?
Yeah, man, that was awesome. That was really cool. My car was working beautifully, and I love going to that track. I seem to go well at the tracks I like to go to. Is that normal?
I guess so.
And I really dislike Queensland Raceway, and I never go good there. I've gone okay there in the past, but not brilliant. And I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, Townsville was awesome. We qualified 5th, and we raced sort of in the top 3 for most of the race, and then my tyres degraded quite a lot. We asked a really long stint. The last stint, it was 40 laps or something, and on the previous day, the most I could get out of it was sort of 10 to 15 laps before they degraded. So and on the Sunday race, we almost doubled our tyre life to say 30, 35 laps. But the last couple of laps, I just went backwards, and then the safety car came out with about 7 laps to go, and we were sort of right in that point in the train whether we pit and take the safety car and put new tyres on and then file out. But if we, in hindsight, it would have been perfect because Courtney did it and he ended up almost winning the race, and he was 2 spots behind me in 7th. And if no one else took it, then we would have folded out in 20th position and probably only raced to sort of 10th anyway. So it's one of those things where we probably should have rolled the dice and went to try and win the race, but it didn't end up like that. So yeah, man, it was a really good step for our little team, but yeah, we've still got a lot more to prove.
Yeah, well, it was nice to see that you sort of at least were able to extract something from the package. I'm always happy to see when you do well. So with that said, I really hope that the next rounds are gonna be even more positive from your side, kind of. And so, how would you sum up the year from the start to where we are now so far in?
Oh man. How would I sum up the year? Oh, I don't really know. Well, when I first joined the team, we've basically started from scratch, a brand new team, where we've taken a lot of people from other teams that have sort of been forced out of that position, like mechanics, engineers, and stuff. And we've tried to make. Have you seen Mighty Ducks? The movie Mighty Ducks, the first one, or Champions? When they take a bunch of, what's the most political way to put it?
I don't know.
Undergrad kids or underprivileged kids, and then they make a really cool hockey team, and they win their championship, their local championship. We're trying to essentially do that with our mechanics and our team, but we're trying to do it in V8 Supercar land. So it's taken a while to get to the point we are. We've improved so much since the start of the year, and we're constantly improving and trying to. We're only 15 people big, so my last team at ProDrive, we were sort of we had about 60, 65 people involved in the business. So, you know, to go from a team that has so many people to a team that has so little people is such a big step. But in a cool way, it almost highlights everyone's personality a bit better, and it gives everyone a bit more responsibility in their own role. And you know, it's been really cool. Even for me, you know, I've never had this position as sort of lead driver before, and yeah, I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
but if I had to sum it up completely, like at the start of the year, I was extremely worried about our performance, and our first 4 rounds were woeful. Like, you know, I qualified in the 20s and raced sort of nowhere, and the car wasn't very good to drive, and over the course of sort of the last 5 rounds, we've sort of worked it out as far as, you know, what happens with the bar rate, the camber gain, and all the Ackerman, and you know, all the sort of engineering geometry bits that make the car go fast. And we've sort of changed it to adapt my style and all the previous experience I had as well in the last couple of teams and I brought to this team. We're trying to make the car as fast as we can.
Yeah, I understand that, but and as you say, you know, it has to be a big sort of transition from being in Prota, I can imagine, to come to Erebus. And so how you found that experience? Do you feel like personally that taking the lead role is something that you really are ready for and like looking forward to take, or do you feel that had come a little bit too fast for you personally, or because it looked like you've been taking it on in a very good way, but it's hard to know.
For sure. Like it's one of those things you sort of have to step up to the mark when you're given the position, and yeah, I love it. It's fantastic. It's given me a lot more, I suppose. I don't know, I've got a lot more responsibility, but I love it. Like I can ask for a lot more things and try and improve the team to how I want it to be improved too, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Sure.
So yeah, man, I love it. It's fantastic. I couldn't go back to being a second driver or third driver again. That was because you kind of like the unspoken person, and I like to voice my opinion on certain things, and
Sure.
And yeah, no, it's good. You have to. Yeah, so yeah, I love it, man. It's fantastic.
Yeah, great. But also the thing that I think people really want to see is that you of course like to have a lot of fun. I like that, but you haven't been out, you know, when you have been frustrated after race, you haven't been out going out playing Pokemon Go or something like that. You've been chilling. No. How do you spend your off time between races?
I've got Pokemon Go, but I've got no idea what it does.
Neither do I. I think you should see here in Sweden, man, it's crazy. You know, when you go out. Yeah. Like there's like people going out with their kids and stuff with these phones. Like,
really, it's weird, isn't it?
I'm like, what are you doing? Are you crazy?
I live next to a park in Melbourne, and there's kids running around at midnight playing Pokemon Go. It's just bizarre.
Yes, it's just out of hand, really. And also I think I've been actually watching a little bit of your Instagram. And
oh yeah.
It's cool, man. Your Instagram is great, but there's so much fun stuff there. Isn't it, I can say it to you people that are actually listening and watching this, isn't your Instagram David Reynolds or something?
Yeah, Dafford, DAFFREYNOLDS. My cousin gave me that nickname out of Little Britain just to take the piss out of me, I think. So it kind of stuck, and that's what he calls me. So it's all good. I roll with it. So yeah, but I don't post enough on Instagram. Like my girlfriend's really active on social media, but I don't know. I just see the things I do as unimportant, so I don't really put it up as much as I should.
Yeah, well, you of course are a very busy man, so we have understanding for you. But I think it was you did something with Austin Cindric with some Vegemite thing, didn't you?
Oh yeah, Austin. I gave him Vegemite for the first time, and he hated it.
That was properly bad. Have
you tried it? Have you tried Vegemite?
No, mate, I have not. Man,
why not?
I don't know.
It's beautiful stuff.
Don't give me a hard time for that.
Nah, everyone makes the mistake of like smothering too much on, like peanut butter. You just need a tiny bit, just to smear it on. It doesn't need to be a lot. It just needs to be a little amount.
All right.
Like the size of your small fingernail. That's all you need.
All right. The chef David Reynolds has emerged. I see. All right. Well, that's good.
Really? No. Just a Vegemite. person from Australia.
Well, here in Sweden, I'm going to tell you something. If we're talking about now, we have something called surströmming. Have you heard of that?
Surströmming?
Yeah, so it's basically rotten fish. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. And it's sort of in a can, and you open it, and it's like, and it's in this sort of, I don't know, it's sort of in this juice. And you have this fish. I don't know if you say rotten herring or whatever, and you eat it on some bread, and it's a delicacy here, and it's actually number 3 of the world's most smelliest foods. So,
really?
Yeah, it's that bad, mate. You can watch it on YouTube, man. It's so funny.
Send me the name. I'll look it
up.
up.
I will send you.
Is it rotten? Like
yeah,
moldy?
It's rotten, right?
Like
you can eat it though. You can eat it. It's very extremely salty, and it. I don't know how to describe it. You need to get over here and you can try it out.
I'm allergic to seafood, so that will just turn me right off.
I can imagine. But I think you have a lot of fans, and this is the first. Yeah, well, of course. You're a great guy. For honestly, I think people just need to like. I think I can maybe see a little bit like Kyle Busch. Some people don't understand Kyle Busch, but doesn't make him less great. You saw him dominate the Brickyard 400. I think the same thing with you. Maybe people don't understand your personality, and that's fine. But I like your personality. But
thanks, brother. Appreciate
it. But so what can you tell me a little bit about how you grew up and how your story started?
Oh, okay. I don't know how long this will take, but my story, I suppose, started. I'm a what you call like a country boy from Australia. I grew up in a rural sort of city part of Australia called Albury-Wodonga. It's a small town of about 50,000 people, and like I didn't live on a farm per se, but I lived in sort of like suburbia, and I just grew up racing go-karts. I started go-karts at the age of 6. But before that, my old man, he was passionate about rally cars. So, I remember from a very young, early age, running around the forest, chasing my old man's rally car around, getting sprayed with dirt and stones and stuff. And yeah, it was fantastic. I loved it. And yeah, he still loves rally. But then we got go-karting, and my brother got a go-kart. He's a little bit older than me. His name's James. And, we went racing as a family on weekends instead of going on holidays or, I don't know, or playing football or soccer or anything like that. We kind of went racing. So, yeah, there was a funny point. Even my mum got a go-kart and she was racing too. So there was my mum, my dad, my brother and myself all racing karts on the one weekend. So, yeah, I did that for, on and off for probably, 10 years maybe, 10 years. Yeah, I kind of, I don't know, realised that I was going hopeless at school. I wasn't really fitted to the school system, and had to do something constructive with my life, and we tried to go racing full time, and in 2003 we got like a Formula Ford that myself and my dad run, and we employed a mechanic to work on the car and stuff, and that was okay. We had a few setbacks that year, but in 2004 I went with a bigger team called Sonic Motorsport. It was run by a guy named Michael Ritter. And yeah, it was fantastic. I learnt so much in that year, and I ended up winning the Australian Formula Ford Championship, which as a junior, which is awesome. Like, that's probably one of the biggest achievements of my life. And then I stayed on with Sonic Racing. I did Carrera Cup for 3 years after that in the 996, and then in 2006 we got 997. So I raced 997 Porsche Carrera Cup for 06 and 07. With the same team with Sonic Racing, and I ended up winning the Australian Carrera Cup Championship in 2007. And I always had this thing, like in 2004 and 2007, I said I have to win this championship myself personally, or I'll quit the sport. So it kind of forced me to win, and then I had to progress on and move up. So then, in 2007, I was signed by like the HSV Young Dealer team. And I was the only driver in at the time because it was sort of reformed after it fell over a few years before me. And yeah, they gave me a job at HSV, which is like trying to think of the best way to. It's like we've got Holden cars over here, and it's their like premium brand. It's kind of like Mercedes AMG. It's AMG's like their sort of premium brand. And so I worked at HSV in the marketing department doing nothing for a year or two, and then just so I could learn about the business, and then I got a full-time drive in 2009 with their V8 team called Walkinshaw Performance, but I only kind of lasted a year in the full-time seat, and then I was kind of bought out by another driver because they were struggling for funds. And and then I did 1 year as an enduro driver with Will Davison.
Oh yeah, Will Davison
at HRT, and that was really cool. Me and Will have been best friends for a long time, and that was something pretty special. And then I kind of left that team, and I got a job with Kelly Racing in 2011, racing the Stratco car. And that was a really, really old car, and it was a bit of a shitbox when I first started to drive it. And I worked really well with my engineer, James Small, and we tuned it up, and, we put all this fancy stuff in there, and it ended up going really good at the end of the year and getting signed by one of the biggest teams in Australia, which was Ford Performance Racing, which is the Ford factory team. Back then, it's recently been changed to the name called Pro Drive Racing, and everyone kind of knows the Pro Drive name. So yeah, and I raced the Bodlo car for about 4 years there, and then end of last year, I had to leave that team because there was commercial reasons why, apparently, and I got a job with Erebus now, and yeah, I thoroughly love my team now. They're a lot better than what I thought it would be, and it's been everything so far. So yeah, that's kind of like a quick summary of my career.
That's great, but
that was only 2 minutes, but that's 20 years of my life.
Yeah, I think that's pretty darn good to get that much done in such a short notice.
Short time. I'm a man of few words. I love like one-liners, like especially movie one-liners. So I kind of
you're a little bit like Kimi Räikkönen and our Scandinavians. We're very short.
Yeah, I love Kimi. He's way more shorter than me, but yeah, all my lines come from movies, and all my quotes come from South Park, Simpsons, just stupid things like that. That's
cool, man. I like that.
I can just talk in movies. That's how I do everything.
All right, is that your the David Reynolds way?
Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
I communicate. Like I always say to everyone, like my job, I'm probably out of 360 days a year, I'm probably busy maybe 130 days of the year. And I'm kind of training and mucking around the rest. So I've got a lot of spare time.
Cool.
So with watching movies and arsing around.
Okay. Yeah, but when you have so much spare time, I've seen you're pretty active. You've been you do your bicycling program when you come to training, or how do you?
Yeah, I used to do like a lot of Ironman training. I wanted to compete in a full Ironman distance, which is like a 4K swim, 180K ride, and 42K run. And I've done a half one of them about 2011, but I don't know. I've had a bit of an injury, like a foot injury. I've got a dead sesamoid bone. Have you ever heard of that?
What did you say?
A dead sesamoid bone in my foot.
No, I beg your pardon.
A sesamoid bone is it's like the size of a corn kernel, so it's tiny, and it sits on the ball of your foot. So the underneath side of your foot, it sits on the ball of your foot, and it kind of regulates the tendon, and it's kind of died. So it's I don't know how or why, but I think it's because I took up kickboxing.
Yeah, I heard it from John actually.
Yeah. Man, I love kickboxing. It's so much fun. And I don't know, just it probably died over repetitive strikes or something. I'm not sure, but it's been kind of painful. So I haven't been able to run or ride or much. So I've kind of been a bit lazy.
I hope it gets sorted out. But can you tell us a little bit about what the kickboxing gives to you? Like what is it with that's so fun? Like is it the physical part of it, or why did it turn out the way?
I don't know. Maybe because it's just a really, really intense sport, and it takes a lot of training, and discipline to step into the ring and try and fight someone. And, I love that sort of side of it. And for me, it's physically awesome. Like, it's very, very good conditioning for us. It's high heart rate. You got to think on your feet all the time. When someone's trying to hit you, you got to duck, and it kind of works on the reaction side as well. But also, it's the mental side. It teaches you to be afraid of no one, and that's what I mainly do it for. Because I was a little bit soft in the past, racing around and stuff. Because I've always paid for. At a young age, I've always paid for racing myself. So scratching the car costs money. And so binning the car costs money, and you kind of get a bit soft. But when you step up into the main series, they want you to race as hard as you can, push people off the track, or, they always say don't be scared to have a go. And
sure.
I had to get out of that mentality myself. So be scared of no one.
Seems like that's been working for you. Last year you did you came, was it third or something?
Yes, I came third in our V8 Supercar Championship.
That's pretty darn good. That's a great result. So,
yeah, massive result.
But I have to ask you then, like, when you did such a great result, what happened there? Because shouldn't that result sort of speak for you in some way, where it sort of gets you a top drive, or at least keeps a top drive? So I don't understand what happened there, really.
Well, yeah, like, it's kind of really hard for me to talk about, because it's, I don't know, like, you think if you end up in the top three in the championship, in any championship, you should be able to maintain your ride.
Yeah.
And it kind of wasn't the case in my thing, because I had a few things go wrong during the year, and I, had some arguments with the management. I was what's the word, vilified in the media because of something I said about these two women drivers.
I know, Silvestro and some other...
Silvestro and Renee Gracie.
Yeah.
And I copped a $25,000 fine for that, which is massive.
And that is quite substantial. Wasn't that one of the bigger sums in the history of the sport, I think?
Yeah.
At least I have heard of.
Yeah, it's the biggest pass down to any driver by almost double. So, I copped that on the chin, and there was a few things that happened, and towards the end of the season, I was going for the championship, and my contract from ProDrive hasn't come yet, and there wasn't a lot of discussion about it, and they gave me like a deadline time, and I waited to the deadline time, and nothing happened, and I let a few other good drives go. Like, I let a really good drive go with BJR, which is the Brad Jones Racing team from Albury, which is my hometown. And I would have fit in perfect to that team, and they've got really good cars, and they're a really good crew.
Cool.
But I kind of let that go because I thought ProDrive might have something for me, and it turned out, I gave it 2 weeks after they confirmed, their date. They were going to tell me what they're doing, and I didn't hear anything from 2 weeks, and then I had to go find another drive quickly, and in actual fact, it turned out better than I ever expected. It's been a fantastic move for me. But yeah, it's kind of funny. Most people are still a lot of the fans, like Ford fans, are still a bit annoyed that I'm not there, because I had a lot of support in that camp, and it's kind of, I feel bad for them.
Yeah, we have had some fan questions come in regarding why you're not racing Ford and what happened there, and I think that sort of, for them listening and watching this, that sort of clarifies that. And I can only say that, like I always say to the people that I talk to, regarding if it's Sebastian Loeb or if it is an F1 driver or whatever, that you definitely have the talent, you definitely deserve a top ride. So hopefully we'll see you in Red Bull Racing Australia very soon. See you sort of go on the outside of Craig Lowndes. And I love the commentators, but they are absolutely on fire, mate. You should hear, here it comes a fast charging David Reynolds. It's really nice to see. So for you, your time will come, and when it does, we can't wait to watch you. So you definitely deserve it, and as I said, you have the talent. So just keep your chin up, keep your head up high, and you deserve it. Don't literally though. Oh, that's good. So yeah, you're a great guy. So don't ever let people talk you down.
Thanks, Dave.
That's for sure. So when it comes to racing, sort of that's something I can imagine, of course, is your passion. Have you ever sort of had the feeling or desire or wanted to, if the opportunity presented itself, wanted to test any other series outside of V8 Supercars?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Like, you know, I love racing. I love driving all different types of cars. Like at the start of the year, I did the Bathurst 12 Hour here in Australia, which is I did it in a SLS Mercedes, and that was awesome. I had such a great day. So yeah, of course, I'm always open to any sort of offer if anyone wants to give me an offer.
Sure, cool.
Yeah, of course I would.
Yeah.
We're race car drivers. We want to drive anything. We just want to drive things and drive as fast as we can.
Yeah, and I think it seems like you're pretty good at it, so that wouldn't be an issue. So it would be nice to see you come over. You know, we saw Scott McLaughlin go over to Sweden this year, so he did very well. You know, and
he's a good driver.
And
a good guy too.
And he also had the privilege to drive for the Swedish Prince, who was expecting, or with Sophia and our Prince were expecting their first child, so he filled in for him. And
really?
Yeah, you know, yeah, yes.
He sat in the Prince's seat, really.
Yeah, in his car, yes. Filled in.
That's pretty cool.
And he did a very good job. You know, Volvo in Sweden is basically dominating the STCC, the Scandinavian Touring Car Championship. And as I said, he did a very good job, and it would be nice to see you come over and at least test some of our series. Sweden, if we should talk about Sweden as a racing sort of country, we are not as sort of racing spread as maybe America or Britain or Australia are, but we do have some racing series. We have the V8 Thundercar series. We have, of course, the STCC series. We have Volvos, we have Fords, we have Seat. Of course, we have Formula series. We have some very good Swedes now, since we have Marcus Ericsson now in Formula One. It's been paving the way for so many others. We have I'm actually going to talk later today with his manager. We have Gustav Malja, GP2. We got Felix Rosenqvist. He drove for Scott Dixon, so he might gonna race for Chip Ganassi. So he's doing pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And you also, your teammate, there were some things happening there. I talked with John about that in the other interview video regarding Aaron Russell. So is there anything you would like to say about him as a person, and do you feel, how much do you feel for him?
Man, I do feel sorry for him. You know, anytime someone sort of loses their drive halfway through a season, you kind of feel really bad. But yeah, Aaron, he's a great kid. You know, very, very passionate. Way more passionate than me about racing. You know, like V8 Supercars can take its toll out of you, and you can become a bit jaded from it, as some of the older guys are. But Aaron, you know, he's fresh faced and he's just got so much enthusiasm for the sport, and he just loves it. So, you know, I feel really bad for him, but yeah, I don't think we're seeing the last of him. He'll be back for sure.
Yeah, I hope so as well.
Yeah, so do I. We had Robert Dahlgren here.
Yeah,
he did a year. Was it last year or the year before? 2014.
I think it was 2014, right?
Yeah, he was here.
He
was a really nice guy, really great guy.
That's good to hear. And I was before we go into the next subject, it would be nice to sort of hear what impressions you have had of him, because, you know, since I'm a little bit patriotic Swede.
Oh yeah. Well, like he was asked, you know, our series is phenomenally hard to drive in, and the cars are phenomenally hard to drive, to set up, to everything. So he was almost given an impossible task of coming over here. But I think the whole idea was to try and bridge the gap between Australia and Sweden and Volvo and, you know, Gary Rogers and stuff. So, you know, I think when they did sort the car out for him, you know, he could qualify in the 10. So if you can qualify in the 10 in our sport, we know you're a good driver. So, you know, and I saw when Scott was racing over there, he won every race, I think, didn't he?
I don't remember all of it, but he was at least had a second place, and so it's pretty good, because the STCC car is way different from the V8 Supercar.
Very different, yeah. But he was a very outstanding guy, and yeah, he was cool to talk to.
Cool. So, have you learned any Swedish now?
Not once. My best friend who lives with me, his girlfriend is Swedish, so he's got this like little book trying to learn Sweden at night. It's really bizarre. I think he likes her.
Yeah, and also, we have these sort of different letters than you have. We have a sort of an A with sort of a dot or a ring above it, and also we have A with 2 dots above it, and we have an O with 2 dots above it. So that's basically those letters are pronounced O, A, and So, yeah. So basically, what it means.
I can't say that.
I know. Listen now. This is a Swedish lesson right here. Usually you have to pay for this, so let's go. Just kidding. No, but so basically, if you want to say island, you just use ö. So you take an O, a regular O, like in over, the O in over, and then just put these dots above, and that basically island. So an island. You say ö.
Ö.
So you gotta go up a little bit, and.
I don't even want to get into
or basically means stream, stream of water, stream.
Yeah.
And ä is basically something that you have to put something together with. So if you take ä and r, you get is. So det, ä, r means it is. So it's quite different, So when you go to different, like into England, you don't have those letters. So that's why it's so hard for people to sort of learn the Swedish language, especially when it comes, we have a lot of foreigners coming to Sweden, and our language is, I think, is.
Why that is?
I beg your pardon?
I wonder why that is.
I wonder why that is. Well, Sweden has
so many beautiful girls there.
Come on, man. That is true, though. But of course, we also have a very good society. Free healthcare, free school. Etc. So of course that puts in a lot of attractive. So and it's good to get into the system, and some of them are getting into racing, and it's really great. But with that said, there's one thing that we can't leave before we finish this interview, and that is of course the Bathurst 1000. And I remember when was it 2011 when you had the Darrell Wall trip over.
Yeah, and we went for a lap riding car.
That was
awesome. 12? That could have been 11.
I think it was around at least.
Oh, okay.
It was very long ago, and I think it was called a geological oddity or something. It was.
Yeah, called it something weird. Yeah.
It was really funny. And now my sort of last question for you is, why is the Bathurst 1000 so special, and how does it separate itself from events like the Indy 500 and the Brickyard? Just according to you, like how high is it in ranking?
Well, for me, for being Australian, the Bathurst 1000 is the biggest almost sporting event of the year for any sporting code. They get the biggest TV numbers. They have, in Australia, like between sort of 3 and 5 million people watch it, and that we've only got a country of sort of 25 million people. So. It's a large percentage of our population watch that race only.
Wow.
That's far bigger than any other race we normally do during the year. It's just became a massive tradition in Australia to go to Bathurst and to watch to watch it on TV. I remember as a very young kid, my old man turning the TV on in the morning and sitting there the whole entire day just watching Bathurst. So, it's in our like heritage and in our history as Australians to love and adore the Bathurst 1000, and we've seen over time like so many hero to zero moments, and then zero to hero moments, because it's such a long race. It's 6-7 hours of racing. So for us there's nothing better, and the track, especially when you go on TV, it kind of looks cool, but when you go there in real life, you really can understand the undulation it sort of goes through, and how tight and blind and fast the track is. It's something I've never been on before in my life or experienced in my life. So, for us, it's everything. It is the biggest race of the year, bar none.
Well.
So if you can win that race, you're kind of like immortalized in motorsport history forever.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine.
I've come close. I've come close a few times, but I've only ever stood second. So yeah.
Yeah,
I've
and
become
wasn't it then when you did some interesting things on the podium?
You got to, always got to. I got to find that too.
Man, what are you doing with your money, man? It's just
Just give it to other people because clearly I don't want
generous, unbelievable.
it.
All right, so let's do this just for you fans. Yes, I'm going to do this for the Motorsport Idag Podcast official fans. Can we just together talk through a lap around Bathurst? You come out of on the start-finish straight. They have a very long straight going into the first right-hander.
So you come out, start your lap, the start-finish line. You go past the pits on your left-hand side, and you can see, the garages are massive. So you can see there's hundreds on a race day. Let's talk about there's 200,000 people turn up to watch the race. In our society, that's massive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just wall-to-wall people. You see sea of colours everywhere. But the track itself, the first turn is like a small uphill left-hander. Second gear, probably minimum speed is probably about 70 k's an hour. Really important to get a good run out there because it leads onto a really long straight and it's all uphill from there. This next straight's called Mountain Straight, and you get to top of fifth gear, which is probably about 250 kilometers an hour in our cars. And then the next corner is, I think it's called Murray's Corner. It's a right-hander that leads on a really uphill incline, and it's really cambered in too, so it can carry a lot of speed there. It's third gear in our cars. Minimum speed is probably about 120, 130 kilometers an hour. And then you sort of head up the hill and the car's really labouring up to the cutting, which is the next left-hander. So cutting, and it's a blind corner. Enter it blind. You start braking before you can actually see the corner. And we approach that in fourth gear, almost on 200 kilometers an hour or 180 maybe. And then you kind of at the bottom of, not the bottom, you kind of, I don't know, you kind of, you can't see any, there's no fences, or there's a small fence, but there's no crowd or anything onto your right hand side because it's just cliff face.
Mm-hmm.
And then so you go up the cutting, it's the left hander, then you grab that second gear, you short shift to third over this massive bump there that really unsettles the car, heading up to Reed Park. You pull fourth gear. And the next sort of section is really tricky because it's sort of like a uphill right-hander that leads into the next sort of bit across the top of the mountain at the grade, and it is one of the coolest things you've ever experienced in your life. That every corner is blind. You approach it completely blind, 200 kilometers an hour. Then you go over to McPhillamy Park, which is the turn-in is blind because of the crest in the hill, and then you head down to Skyline, and as you turn out of McPhillamy Park into Skyline, all you can see is the Bathurst township on your left-hand side, and it's just you're on top of a mountain. You don't even know it, but you're I don't even know what the meters above sea level is, but it's massive. And then you start your descent down to the bottom of the hill. Which is very, very scary. And 2 years ago there was a massive crash there, and it took out Chaz Mossad. He broke his arm and his leg in a crash, and nearly killed a few spectators, which is pretty bad. I probably shouldn't talk about it, but so you go down Skyline into the dipper, which is like a S bend, following the walls around. This is also very, very off cambered, and the car sort of rolls around and it feels like it wants to roll over. It gets two wheels in the air, which is second gear. Then you head down to the elbow, at the top of third gear, so you do about 175 k's an hour. And then this next sort of section is really tricky down to the elbow because you have a small break, and then it's blind into the next section. Then you have a break again, and it goes down to crest, which is the turn-in point's blind. And it's just a series of stupid corners, really, from the bottom to the top. It's all blind, it's all ridiculously undulating, and it's fast, very fast. And then you head out the elbow in second gear and you're on Conrod Straight and you get a bit of a breather. It's downhill. The car like accelerates really quickly there because it's all downhill, and you have probably, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 seconds flat out on the throttle, pulling gears, and your X speeds of just on 300 kilometers an hour down into the chase, which is a right-hander, which you take flat at 299 kilometers an hour or whatever it is. There's a few bumps there, so the car moves around a lot. And then you're braking probably 200 meters out to a third gear corner, which is the chase. And then you head down to the last corner, which is we call Hell Corner, because it's the last corner at the bottom of the hills. They call it Hell, yeah. So which is second gear, and that's a pretty standard right-hand corner, left-hand corner, and that's a lap of Bathurst, So that's actually longer than the lap itself. Me talking about it.
I think for the real race fans out there, I think hopefully you appreciated that, and that was just for you. And thank you, David, for that explanation. Of course, I take all the pride for that. So
do that.
That was very special. We thank you for that. I think that sort of sums it up. I just want to ask one last thing, and that is there anything you would like to say to the Swedish fans and your fans in general before we end this interview?
Thanks for your support, and if you're ever at a racetrack, just come and say hello. I'm not too scary. I can talk to you about anything. I'll tell you the honest truth. I always get in trouble for this too. I'm too honest, and I'm not very politically correct. So I always get in trouble for these two things. So that's just who I am. I can't hide it. Zebra can't change its stripes. That is me.
Basically,
so please make yourself welcome and just come out and talk to me, because I'm always kind.
What you see is what you get, either like it or not.
Yes, exactly.
David Reynolds, thank you so much for joining Motorsport Idag Podcast Official, and I'll hope to talk to you very, very, very soon.